What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. With springtime in the air, I always like to try to do something for all our fellow feathered friends out there. And I have all this scrap wood in my shop, and I'm pretty sure most of you do too. So I like to do little birdhouses here and there and things like that. And I always like to try to come up with something different. So today, I'm going to just try to come up with something and draw it out. And if you want to get a piece of paper, cardboard, pencil, and a ruler, whatever, you can follow along. Or if not, just hang out with me today. And I greatly appreciate your support. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button, and let's see what we can do here. So of course I got a piece of cardboard, basic cardboard, and I just kind of had this idea of something I want to build, and of course I'm sure it's not going to turn out right to start with, but I'm hoping you can see what I'm doing. But I'm going to start out, and I'm just going to mark just center on my piece of cardboard here, and so that's going to be a 3 there, and this is going to be a 3. I'm going to try to get pretty close as we can. And of course, you know, this can be your pattern for later, so if you want to make notes on it as you go, I do a lot of that. And this bottom, I had checked it, it's pretty square, so I'm just going to go off the bottom edge of the cardboard. And I'm going to measure up about 8.5. Well, maybe do it less. Okay, I'm going to measure up about probably let's just do 8 inches. Let's say 8 inches for this. We're going to come straight up with 8 inches. And so now, I know my hole is going to be right in here somewhere for the bird. And I want it to taper. And I've seen a picture of something similar, but I can't remember like right offhand exactly what it was. Like I said, I just have an idea in my head, so I'm going to get off of my center line down here, or on my center line down here at the bottom, and I'm going to do it about 3.5 inches wide, so that's going to be 1 3/4 there. So I'm going to mark a mark at the 1 inch, and then I'm going to mark another one here just to make sure I get them both the exact same. And of course, give or take. Alright, so I got that there. So I want it to slant. I'm not really sure exactly how much of a slant I want. I'm still not 100% positive where I want the hole to be either yet. But here's my top, here's my bottom. But I do want it to kind of just slant outward. So let's say maybe put the hole about 5 inches. I'll make a mark at 5 inches here. I just want it to taper. I want it to taper even with that hole. So going from here, I'm just going to make a mark. I'm going to go over about, probably about 5. I want it about 5 inches wide, so I'm going to mark 2.5 on both sides, like this. And so that's going to be about my width. So what I would do from there is just put my ruler on and get on that mark there and just draw a slant, and then just repeat on the other side. And again, a lot of this is trial and error, so if it doesn't come out right first time, there's nothing lost but a piece of cardboard. So yeah, that looks pretty good there. So I got my mark there. So just to make sure we're all all nice and square there, I'll go ahead and mark me another line here and just draw that straight across as well. Just connect those two lines together. There. So that's what I'm thinking about here. And then I will go slanted from this point to the center. And the same thing on this side. Yeah, it's not too bad. If you're following along, it ought to kind of look like that too. So I kind of like that shape, and that's kind of what I'm going after. So now I have a knife here. Of course, you know, if you're working on a table that you don't want tore up, of course, always put something under it. This table right here, I kind of going to refinish it, but yeah, I don't really want to go after trying to fix where I cut through with a razor knife. So I'm going to put a little piece of cardboard on it, and I'm going to draw just down my line with the razor knife itself to get my shape. Of course, you know, take your time. If you have to, pause the video, but a lot of times I just do that. I just kind of basically score my line, if you will. And you can cut all the way through if you want to. Sometimes I kind of score the line with the knife, and I go back with scissors and just cut down in there. It makes the cardboard a lot easier to cut if you're using scissors. So when I get that all the way through, if and when I get it all the way through, this should be the shape for the front of the birdhouse. And then the hole will be about right here. I may end up dropping that hole a little bit. I'm undecided yet on the hole, but the hole isn't that important to me at this point. It's just a decision to make. So I may come down just a little bit more. But if I do, I'll make sure I say that so that you'll know exactly where my hole measurement is. So I'm gonna head out here to the scrap bin and see if I can find something to reclaim wood, you know, save a tree, save the environment, help out the little feathered friends. So let's get on to some cutting. All right, so I have a lot of this stuff right here. This is just off a pallet. I tear these pallets up all the time in my area. They're pretty relatively available. If they're not available in your area and you can't find anything reclaimed wood to use, then a fence picket from a big box store will work just as good. It's actually probably a little bit thinner. It's probably a little bit easier on your own cutting to work with. So what I did, I went out and I cut a couple pieces off of the end of this pallet board. And so I have the pattern we just made, and I wanted to point out, I did decide to drop the hole just a little bit. So now the hole, the center of the hole will be 4.5 inches. So I poked the pencil in it. I'm not sure if you can see that pencil hole there, but so that's what that is. That's 4.5 inches from the bottom. So I'm going to write that on there, 4.5 inches, in case sometimes I build several things, and sometimes I'll build one, and other times I build things and people want them, and so I go back and I, build several. So I'm just putting a template on, and I'm just going to say this is my front, so I'm going to mark that center hole, and then with my pencil I'm just going to trace out the cardboard pattern we just cut. The drink boxes work great for these. There's some beer boxes that are pretty good for patterns, and they last pretty well. I use it all the time. I just, anything I can recycle or scrap. I get a lot of stuff sometimes for my hoarding ability, but I like to keep up with scraps and cardboard and stuff like that. That's, it's already been used, and I like to reuse it again because I can turn it into a pallet or something like that. I'm sorry, I can turn it into a pattern, not a pallet, but that'd be nice if I could turn it into a pallet. But I can turn it into a pattern, and I can keep the patterns forever and just, keep them in boxes, filed, whatever. So there's that. The line didn't mark all the way there. All right, so now you can cut this out with a jigsaw. You can cut it out on a miter saw, a band saw, whatever you have. So I'm going to use the miter saw, I believe, just to make it fast. and I'll come back and I'll tell you what these degree angles are. So stay tuned and I'll be right back. All right, so on the way to the miter saw, I come up with an idea of why not, before I cut these, I put up some lines and maybe score them with a table saw to kind of give it that plank look. Not sure it's going to look great, and again, trial and error, but and I even used a slicker side of the board on these, but I thought about that might look pretty nice if I did that. So I did figure out the angles, and these angles, if you're using a miter saw, the long angles are going to be 10 degrees and these will be 48 degrees. And I'm going to write that on my pattern here as well. 10 degrees and then 48 degrees. And again, if you're not comfortable with a miter saw, if you don't have one, jigsaw, bandsaw, handsaw, if you're that brave, and you can do it that way. So what I want to do is I still have my centers marked here. So I want to just go right up the center here with a line, and this is my benefit because, you know, a table saw, you won't be able to see that line. So I'm going to set my fence for this one to 2 3/4. I'm going to write fence on it because I'll sand all this off later. And I'm just going to score a line up the front, and I'll go over here and do the same on this one so I can see it. And it'd probably be pretty difficult if I went and cut those. So I'm glad I didn't, because I want to try this. And I don't know, 1 line on the front scored or 3. I don't know what it'll look like. So I'll tell you what, let's do it anyway. Hey, it's just scrap wood. We can do it. The birds won't care. They might actually appreciate the style, so we'll see. So I'm going to measure 1.5 inches from my center line. And again, this is just to see what it looks like. We'll check it and see. If we don't like the way it looks, then I won't cut it, but I think it's going to look pretty neat. Me thinking and knowing there's 2 different things in this game. That one. That one. So, yeah, that isn't bad. Pencil lines kind of throw it off. It's kind of hard looking at the pencil lines to tell if it's going to look good like that. And of course, keep in mind too, if you do it on the front, you're gonna have to do it on the sides, and you're gonna have to do it on the back, or it's just not gonna look right. So if you don't want to do that, you can skip this part of the video and just move on, but I'm kind of thinking about attempting it. And also, I'm definitely gonna do the middle line, and I'm probably not gonna do it that deep. I'm probably gonna go about 1/8 of an inch deep, maybe a little more, but I'll get the center line put in, and then I'll decide what I want to do. So drop in the comments what you decided to do on yours, and we'll compare notes later. So probably going to drill about 1 inch to 1.5 inch hole, and that all depends on what bird you're going for. Around here we have a lot of barn wrens, we have sparrows and things like that. You know, we have a few big birds, but a lot of the bigger ones, they don't usually tend to like my birdhouses no matter what size the hole is. But I'm gonna score these out and then cut them on the miter saw, and we'll come back with what we have from there. All right, so I did some researching online, and it said the interior of the birdhouse ought to be about 4 to 6 inches. So I wasn't really sure of exactly what bird I'm going for, so I made mine 5.5, and I wrote it on my pattern. So I did mine 4 1/4 by 5.5. So I got those cut out, and I went ahead and I did my scoring lines, and of course one of them had a knot and it broke out, but I don't really think the birds will care. So now we just need to start putting it together. It's going to be a slant here, and I thought about tapering the bottom off, and well, you know, it's going to fit pretty good anyway, and so I figured the birds might get a little air out, or if it gets water or something in it, maybe they'll just have them a drain hole. So we'll see how it goes. Again, this is just a prototype. I'm, you know, seat of my pants doing this one, but I'm still gonna go through the motions of putting it all together, and just to see how it comes out. Oh, look at there. I got it. All right, moving on. I need something on the table after I moved all of my cardboard. Probably should have left that. Try to get these in place about how I want them. Maybe use another block here to butt them down pretty good, and that's about how I want it to be, I do believe. I think it's going to be narrow at the bottom, but you know, most of these birds we have around here are very small birds. They're not real big. You know, we do have cardinals, the occasional cardinals, blue jays. But most birds I see that ever use either my porch light as a nest or any little thing, including my truck, they always seem to use just the oddest stuff to have a nest in. So every one I usually ever see, they're either getting tailpipes or they get a grill of the truck or whatever. They're all pretty small. So hopefully I'll get something in it, and I will keep you informed on the channel if I actually do get a bird in there, and also see if I can determine a species. Those feeders, if you've seen them that have video on them, they're pretty nice. They can identify the bird for you and everything else. But yeah, boy, that's really getting narrow there. So might need to rethink this whole prototype here. But I like it so far. I like the way it looks. And if I don't get a bird in it, I'll just use it for decoration. I mean, who wouldn't want a little bitty birdhouse creeping around their living room? Especially one that it took so much care building. Something here straight. So I hear the birds out there now. They're all out there now arguing over who's got dibs on this one. But we'll see what I get. Oh, look at that. Look at that good old reclaimed wood twist in that one. That's always nice. So anyway, again, my sides are 4 1/4 by 5.5. And I can put out some plans on these. If you like the plans, just let me know in the comments below if you like the plans to them, and I'll draw them out and put them up for you to be able to get them. And now for the roof and the bottom. Now I think on the bottom I may just put a kind of a platform. Yeah, I do a lot of research on these birds, and there's my nail, my original nail that came out. I'll have to break that off there. But I do a lot of research on these birds, and one thing I noticed, a lot of people put a pedestal or a peg or something here for the bird to sit on. But what I understand is don't do that, because a predator bird can sit on that while they reach in and attack the babies or the eggs or whatever. So my understanding is to never put that on there, but a platform can be okay. Why, I don't know the difference, but Google, you know, Google tells you a lot of things these days, so you can learn a lot from Google. So now on my roof, grab my tape measure here. I just want a mild little overhang, so I'd say maybe 1 inch overhang. So let's just say 8 inches. And what I'll do is I'll mount one side down, and then on the other side, I'll probably only use 2 brad nails in it. That way at the end of the year, I can pull the top off easily and clean it. But you can use hinges if you like. I didn't have any prior to deciding to build this. So again, this is prototype, something fun to do, something you can do and make a lot of. So I'm gonna do about a 8-inch roof. That's gonna be 1 inch overhang. And then one side's gonna be about 5. And so then, depending on the thickness of your wood, you'll cut off that other one to make the same thing. So I'm gonna guess, just looking at it, if I do 1 inch overhang, I'm probably gonna need about a 4.5 and then a 5-inch. So I got a piece cool too laid out that I want to show you. It's got bark on it where it was on a pallet, but it has it's out in the shop, so I'll grab that. So I have this piece here, and I really like this to be kind of like the outside, give it that rustic. See, it's a pallet, and I've used it before for something. I still got nails sticking out. So, but look at that right there. Wouldn't that be a cool little roof right there and hanging out? It's already tapered too, so it wouldn't be a lot. Because a lot of my birdhouses, I do taper them. It's just for looks. It doesn't really help out greatly or anything, but I'll do that, and I'll probably use a piece of this also. Maybe not the one with bark on it, but something like this, and I'll either just put a solid bottom on, or I'll just flush it to the back and leave them a little doorstep or something here. So let me get that cut, and I'll get right back with you. All right, so there's my roof pieces, and this one is 4 3/4 wide by 8, and this one is 5 1/2 by 8. So when I put them on, they'll kind of go together like that. And of course, what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to mount this one down all the way, and then this one I think I'm just going to butt it up here and maybe put 2 brad nails in it. That you can do like this later and pull it off and clean the nest out. So that is what I'm looking at right now. So that's going to be, I guess it doesn't really matter, does it? I probably could just do it that way, couldn't I? Just take this side off. Might be better. Yeah, I like that. That's pretty neat. All right, so we'll do that. So put a little glue on there, of course, because this side will be the one I knocked down all the way. And then I believe it was an inch overhang I was going to have. That's my original plan there. So that's an inch. That's an inch as well. Okay. So what I'm going to do right now, I'm just going to tack a brad nail in it in case I have to move it for some reason. A lot of times, again, using reclaimed wood pallets, you get all kinds of surprises when you start knocking nails in. Watch those fingers there. A lot of times those pallet boards can get you. And on this one, see, this one will just go just like that. So then in front of your house will look like that. You have a pretty good seam there. I mean, that shouldn't be too overly leaky there. I mean, maybe so, but I build them like this all the time, a similar style roof, and I don't ever have any issues with, you know, them getting rained out too bad. And a lot of times I'll put some line in them, or some kind of like a ring hook or something, and I just hang them up on the tree. So that's usually a good way to do them too. You can hang on a fishing line if you get a heavy enough test on it. But so I usually just put a brad here and a brad there, or again, do hinges yourself if you want to, and then that way the lid comes up. See, the lid will come off pretty easy. You just pull it, and maybe just go ahead and, as a matter of fact, put 3 in there just for good measure. So this is where we're at so far. So I'm gonna come up with a bottom idea, and we'll call this one finished. I'm still unsure on the little porch I thought about doing originally. I don't know. What do you think? What are you gonna do on yours? Let me know. Let me know in the comments below what you're gonna do on yours. And then the next one I can change it, but I'm gonna go ahead and mark me a square and I can measure in if I just put a basic bottom in it. But I like it. Make me a chimney or something to go on it. Let's see how that goes. Finish putting this roof down here. That'll hold it good, especially if the glue dries. It'll hold it pretty well. So there you go. That's it. Yeah. All right, so I kind of decided against the porch. I already, had stated I had read a lot about don't put a peg for a predator to stand on. So I kind of don't see the point of a porch. So I went out and I just cut a bottom piece. And of course the bottom piece is going to be 3 5/8 by 6. So I'm going to write that down to the bottom. 3 5/8 by 6. So I'm hoping you can see that, but I like to write everything on a pattern. Again, if I start batching them out or building a lot more, then I'll do that. And then what I'll probably do, I'll use a thinner wood next time. This was, like I said, it was a pallet. You saw it when I picked it up. It's got the bark still on these. Some of these have the bark. And I'll make it thinner just to give them a little more floor space. And the floor space is kind of tight, but again, I'll probably end up getting like the little wren type bird or the sparrow or something like that in it. So it'll make it worth it. If they're happy with it, I'll be happy with it. So I just put a little more glue on here. Just hold it. Or move it and get glue all over myself. Either one, whatever's best. And be careful with that nail gun. The finger you save might be your own. Believe me, if you've watched some of my past videos, I have a video now where I shot a nail through my hand, so that was pretty nice. So that is it. That's what it looks like. And that's how it is. Yeah. Thank you so much for watching the video and spending the day with me. I hope you learned something. If you got some more ideas, suggestions, or if you decide to build one yourself, I'd like to see it. If you could post it, we'll have a look at it. I'd like to see what you guys come up with. And I may go back and stain it. I hadn't decided if I'm going to stain or not. I wanted to cut the grooves, but I know the grooves are going to hold water, so I'll just clear coat the roof like it is, and then I may just stain it or paint it. Probably will paint it. I'm not sure what, if stain is bird friendly, but I have some paint that is, so I may just give it a coat of paint and probably paint the roof and then clear coat it. But I appreciate you stopping by. Please remember to like and subscribe on your way out. And I'll see you on the next one.